Hello and welcome to the live podcast, Win More on Purpose. Today we have David Wanounou with us on owning your value, taking responsibility on your client, appreciating your value. The agenda, for those of you who are new, it's going to be a conversation between myself and David. We're all here learning together. Write down those questions. There's going to be a Q&A at the end. As we are live, you can put into the chat, let us know, just to start off, where it is that you're coming in from, what is it that you're focusing on your business right now, or what it is that you do. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Yaacov Steinberg. I'm a sales coach. When I first went into sales coaching full time, I noticed about 4.5+ years ago now that people were able to build 6-7 figure businesses on their own. They're good at what they do. They're passionate. Some put along the way, they learned how to speak to people, but they'd hit this glass ceiling. Sometimes it was because they were making things up as they went along, and that only takes you so far. Others because they didn't want to be that stereotypical used car salesperson, pushing people, sleazy, all those types of things. And that's where I came into the picture, giving people mindset, techniques, skills, really helping them to have that confidence and clarity to know who they needed to speak to, where to find them, what to say, and how to say it. And thank God I've had the pleasure of working with quite a number of people pretty well known on LinkedIn, whether it's Chai Fishman, Hudi Blach, Hudi Greenberger, Eli Bosch, just to name a few. And the clients that have worked with me have, thank God, been able to grow at the 6-7 figure level, even 50% in the first 60 days of working with me. At the $100,000 level, even 150% in the first 60 to 90 days. And solopreneurs just starting out, even only doing $4,000 a month, 240% growth in the first 45 days. David, really excited to have you here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and let's get the show on the road.
Well, first, thank you for having me.
Of
I can
course.
actually attest to your work. I know a few people who've used your services very successfully, so kudos to you and thank you for helping out the people. You get a
Thank you very
round of
much. Appreciate
applause.
that.
So yes, if you haven't met with Yaacov yet, I'm sure he'll tell you how to reach him after this podcast. Again, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. My name is David Wanounou, as you said. I'm a business coach now for, it must be going about 20 to 25 years. Been doing it actually as a business now for, I'd say, about 5 or 6 of those. It's a funny story how it turned from kind of, I guess it was a overdone hobby, even at the times when it wasn't done as for financial reasons. But now I've been doing it for financial reasons. Love every second of it, and I've helped a number of businesses from all sizes, from people having that idea that they kind of spark in their brain of an idea, down to, thank God, very, very large companies and everywhere in between. A lot of this actually got started with
Amazing.
career coaching, which is something that is very helpful, which actually in your normal business coaching, there's a big tie-in. But it's a great thing watching people. I'm sure you could say this firsthand for yourself. Watching people who are coming to you with whether it's a challenge. Challenge doesn't mean that they're not even doing well. A challenge could be, I'm making $1 million. Help me get to $5 million. It's just an incredible feeling watching that escalation as they're just flying, and knowing that you have a frontline seat to be able to see that, because you and I both know it's really all coming from God. So,
Of
but
course.
being able to be at that frontline seat watching it, it's the most incredible feeling. I'm sure I'm talking to somebody who can appreciate that, who feels it firsthand.
Absolutely. I always tell people my job as a sales coach is to help you to do the right hishtadlus, the right human effort. But ultimately, the results, they all come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, from Hashem.
That's it.
I've had the pleasure of being on the receiving end of
My
your
book
coaching.
is next to
Quite,
me right there. I'm sure you
that's
have one.
exactly right. Same. It's here in my desk. I get a chance to learn this every day with a chavrusa, with a study partner, and
Yes, I
I
as
try
well.
not to let a day go by without it.
Yeah.
Just jumping in here, I've had the pleasure of being on the receiving end of your coaching quite some time back. And I think that one of the first things that I always think about, we named this owning your value. I think that one of the first things that comes to mind when I think about people believing in themselves, and I've made a couple of posts about this on LinkedIn since we started talking about this conversation, is people don't believe in themselves. And the first question is, why don't people believe in themselves?
So you and I started this conversation. It's supposed to be a few weeks ago when we connected,
Yeah.
and I remember when you and I were originally talking about, hey, let's have a podcast. What should be a topic? And I actually had just dealt with a problem in regards to this, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions, and I think that this topic has a lot of legs to it
Mm-hmm.
because you know, the concept of having confidence it's a very broad term, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because I could be confident in myself with certain things and not confident when it comes to certain things. I can be partially confident, okay? I don't know if I shared this story with you, but this kind of really it really would bring to home the whole message. And
Sure.
actually, with a sales element as well in this, so you'll appreciate it, I think, even further. The abridged version of the story is I was talking to this client of mine, and he was in a particular industry where he was helping people. I mean, for the purpose of this conversation, let's call it getting government bids. Okay,
Okay.
he had this secret sauce to him. It was an incredible secret sauce. He had a proven track record that his successful clients were able to gain contracts between $1 to $9 million for 3 years out.
Yeah.
It was literally guaranteed money. So the conversation goes, what are you charging for this service? Currently, I charge $1,000 for this. I said,
Tell me.
$1,000? Crazy. So conversation's continuing, and he's telling me I'm really trying to now raise myself to $2,500. Is that too much? What do you think? I said, $2,500. You should be charging $5,000. So 5,000, like he's getting all excited. No, five. That's too much. That's too much. I said, no, you $5,000. And again, he's telling me $5,000 too much. I said, for you, it's fine. And then at some point, he turns to me and says, why do you keep on saying you, you, you? I said, you know why I said you? Because my other clients would not be charging less than $100,000 for this service. And like, he then goes, now I'm angry at you. Why are you telling me to charge 5,000? I said, because you're fighting with me between $2,500 and 5,000. What I'm telling you is, if you have that secret recipe to bring somebody $1 million to $9 million, I would give you $500,000 over and over and over and over again. I'd give you $750,000
You're
over and
printing
over again.
money.
It's a no-brainer. But you don't believe in yourself. You're not believing in your product. You're selling basically this product at $1,000, and you're questioning whether you can go up to $2,500. Do you believe in your product? Do you believe in yourself? Confidence and believing in yourself comes from multiple things, and there are multiple questions that you need to ask yourself. Do I believe in what I'm selling? Do I believe in myself? Do I believe maybe in my back office that I may get the sale? I made that, and I did everything I can, but I don't believe that my company is going to be able to fulfill on it. We always have to take a step back and say, what am I lacking confidence in? Sometimes, and I don't want to even touch on this element because it's unfortunately things that I've had to deal with as well. Sometimes it's actually a medical issue where you can have people who are just, I guess, psychologically have real challenges, and they kind of metamorphosize itself into greater problems. But we're not even talking about that for this
Interesting.
conversation.
Right.
Think about a simple example. Somebody who has a small business, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'm just scared to take that next plunge. So he may convince himself that the reason he's scared is he doesn't want to lay out the money. He doesn't want to take the risk. But is that really what the issue is? Or is he scared of failure? Dealing with a coach, I guess here we got to plug a little bit. Dealing with a coach, somebody like you, somebody like myself, that's part of our job for us to find that underlying issue.
Yeah.
What am I really dealing with? Okay. Is it something that this person doesn't have the capabilities? And maybe we have to then coach him or her in learning the techniques and giving them the confidence that, no, you can do this. or
Right.
maybe helping them build the infrastructure around them that's going to give them the confidence. As an example, this morning I was with an incredible networking group of people, and collectively, sometime as a group, getting that support around you. We actually had a major accomplishment, not to waste the time over here, where the whole group today circled around one of the particular people there that were having a challenge, and we're able to help them overcome a real fear. And you know what? That's a fear that
Beautiful.
they're never going to happen again. And we don't know those buttons at times, and we don't know the impact that we can have on a person.
Right.
But for the first step, we have to understand the underlying issue. What is really holding you back?
Yeah, and it's so important that you point that out because in discovery calls, I mean, it's one of the most important questions to ask is like, what have you done to try to solve this, and what's holding you back from actually getting this resolved already? And so many people look at that question like, wow, that's a really great question, right? Because they've never thought of that. Like, why? What's stopping you from fixing this yourself? Why are you going to a coach? Why are you having this conversation with someone else? Why has this not been taken care of already? Something's obviously holding you back. The question now just becomes, what is it? And then getting down to the core objection, right? Which is our job many times as coaches of what is it really, right? I'll always, I don't think I'll ever forget. There have been times when I've been in, meetings with people, and then they tell me a specific objection to why they are not doing something, and it could be a potential client, it could be a client, and it's just a matter of asking questions, and all of a sudden a whole new core objection shows up that wasn't even what they realized. Right? Why is it that you want to build this business to $5 million? I want to have money. Why do you want to have money? And all of a sudden it comes out that they want to sell the business in 5 years for $5 million, and now it's just $1 million business. Right? Selling the business and building it as a turnkey are two very different things, right?
Yes,
Ultimately, the vehicle is the same, but what you're trying to do is completely different.
right.
Um,
And to
and
your
this kind of
point
brings
on
us.
that, you're actually touching on something. It's a little bit off topic, but the
Mhm.
ability to challenge somebody and have somebody who cares about you really challenging you will help you. We can't really look at ourselves. There are very few people who really can look at themselves in a mirror and say, you know what, this is my problem. This is what's holding
Right.
me back.
100%.
Why haven't I reached that? I want it. I think I want it at least. Do you know how many times I have a conversation with somebody, I'm sure you come across it, and part of the lack of confidence is that they're doing things for the wrong reason. They're
Yeah, for
just not
sure.
motivated. You know what? It's not even confidence. They call it confidence, but really they're just not driven. And until you understand what the problem is, you can't identify the solution. And being able to surround yourself with somebody or people that can really, but from a good place, challenge you. Why aren't you doing it? You have the capabilities. People love you. Your product's great. Your service is great. Why aren't you doing it? And really, and not just accepting that fluffy answer. I don't have the time.
Right.
Come on, there's something. Then you don't want it. Then just admit it. Let's move forward from that.
Right. Yeah, and it's amazing how so many people try to ignore this. I
Yes.
literally had a conversation with someone the other day, and he didn't know his business heads or tails. He Pushit just did not know his business, and he wouldn't admit it. Right. And I said, okay, so fine, so let's go down the road. I said, okay, what are the deepest desires of your clients? And he spouts an answer. I said, great. What are their deepest needs? He said, I don't know. I said, what are their deepest wants? He couldn't, like, what are their fears? What are their worries? What are their limiting beliefs, their internal limiting beliefs, their external limiting beliefs? What's giving them stress? What would remove their stress? He couldn't answer most of the questions. I said, you don't know what you do. I said, you're
Yeah.
doing it because you're just there. You happen to be at the right place at the right time. You have
Right.
no clue what you do. As a sales coach, I'm not the right person for you because I can help you to build an amazing sales process, but it's not going to work if you don't know who you're talking to,
Right.
right? And that's the first step, is understanding the who, and then we can discuss, and that includes the value you bring to them and what you're doing for them and all these other pieces. And like you said, it could be they don't believe in it, it could be there's all these other issues, but only afterwards can the other pieces fall into place. And I
And
think
to
that takes us.
understand, one other thing with what you were just saying is extremely important. You know,
Okay.
we cannot give you confidence. You have to
Right.
understand something. We can bring you to the door of understanding. Okay. And again, you know, even as a knock to, I guess, my industry, you don't have to pay to somebody to get this. You just need to surround yourself with the right people and understand what it is that you're going to accomplish. Confidence is
100%.
something that you're going to build up and well up in you. People are going to have to give you foundational stuff and then help you hold your hand, get you to that point. But there's no magic pill, no magic injection that we're going to be able to give you that's now all of a sudden going to make you confident, at least not in a way that's going to stay. Like you can give a real motivation speech, rah rah rah. Then you got your juices are all flowing. You're running out. You're going, and then it just crashes. You know,
Right. It's like a sugar rush.
it's a sugar rush. That's all it is. Together with the right people and identifying again, this is so important. What's the problem? You could solve a problem. I can't give you ideas and then, oh, yeah, I'm going to take this, I'm going to grab this idea, I'm going to grab this idea. That's silliness. The
Yeah.
confidence is going to have to come from within you, and there are steps within which and questions that can be asked that can help you at least understand where this stuff is all originating that's bringing me down or bringing the person down.
Let's dive into that a little bit, actually. How can people start believing in themselves? What is it that they can do to really let that confidence flow forth so that they can start believing?
So the first question is to ask, do you really have a confidence problem? Okay.
Hmm.
People really confuse a confidence problem that I'm not successful at what I'm doing. So that then brings them down. So you're basically losing confidence because you have determined what success should look like, and I am now
Hmm.
not successful by this picture that I have created. Okay?
Right.
So
Powerful.
there's one element of that. There's another element of, you know, am I not confident because I'm in the wrong job? Okay, I'm doing sales for a company. I really should be doing operations, but there were too many operations people, so they stuck me in sales because they have nobody else, and I have no confidence because I have no tools. So am I
Right.
lacking skills in what it is I'm doing? Okay, am I creating goals that are just unrealistic? Am I creating my goals, or am I working on somebody else's goals? And then by me not having success over and over and over, what the determination that they've determined that they failed once too many times, they've now crushed themselves. Okay? So then let's figure out ways of getting you some wins. But let's have
Mm.
wins within your strengths. Okay? What are your strengths? Do you know what your strengths are? I spend so much time with people just on that topic alone, identifying and helping them identify these are weaknesses, nothing wrong with that. Here are your strengths. Okay? How do I work with that to bring me to my goals and to start seeing success? Okay? Once I start seeing success, in most cases, I could start growing from there and I could start gaining the confidence needed to start having one success after another success after another success and go down to the next level that even if I have a bump in the road, I know now how to get back into it. Okay? Which you have to start creating milestones and wins for yourself to be able to feel inside of you, I could do this, and then create a self-confidence in myself that goes on.
Right. Right.
One
And that's
other very
really,
important piece, one other very
yeah.
important piece, never allow people to judge you. Okay? They have no impact on you. I find one of the greatest hamperings of people with their confidence and their success is that they come to me, so and so said this about me, so and so said this about me, so and so said this about me. My rule of thumb when it comes to this, the less of an impact that a person has in me, the less I care their opinion of me. Now,
Mm.
your boss, who may impact your salary, I may want to care about his opinion about me so
A little
much.
bit more.
Okay? A little bit more. The guy that I happen to be in the park with, playing ball with, who tells me, you know what? You don't have a real financial brain. Oh, okay. you know,
Your opinion doesn't really matter.
I appreciate your input, and that's not to say that somebody who gives you constructive criticism that we don't look and listen, try and learn, but
Right.
don't allow people to have power over you.
Yeah, one of the
Um,
things I always say is don't give people space in your head rent free.
okay, that's great. I try and use that. That is great. Yes.
Yeah, there's no reason for it. They're not paying for the space. Stop thinking about them and letting their opinion run what it is that you're doing in your daily life. It's not something that matters, right? Are you looking at the facts and what is it that you've done for people and what is it that you're doing and your successes and the wins that you've gotten for yourself and for others, right? And
Hmm.
that kind of takes us right into what is value, right? And what does it mean to be of value to others, right? So let's take a step into that because there were so many different pieces that you just brought in. I think that just goes straight into this, understanding that we can have of what is value. Because to own our value, we need to understand what value is.
Right. So that's a great question, and I honestly think most people get this wrong. Okay? Our value, and I don't care what relationship you're in. I don't care. Husband and wife, people may not that I say this, but husband and wife,
Mm-hmm.
employer, employee, very important that people always miss. Vendor and client. Okay? It's all about the ROI, return on investment. Every relationship that we are involved in has a return on investment. Now, a lot of people think of return on investment in financial terms. It is nothing. It is a metric, but it is not the
Yeah,
only
we said the
metric.
same thing in sales when it comes to compensation. You spending time with your kids is going to have a
A return on
compensation package
investment,
in 10 years from now because
correct?
I'm giving my, teenage daughters time now. They're going to want to spend time with me in 3, 4 years from now when they're proper teenagers.
What is the return on investment? You have to keep on saying that to yourself. Without understanding that, you will never understand value. Now,
Right.
once I understand that there's a need of a return on investment, then I could say, what's the value that I'm bringing that will get me that return on my investment? Okay. So the simplest examples, very, very simple example is I work for an employer. I made the company because of my work. There's a quantifiable number of how much I am bringing into the company. I have a return on my investment. So if I'm able to make my company $1 million a year, okay, there's a value for that. If I bring into the company $100,000 a year, and by the way, I'm talking obviously about profits, not revenues. It seems to be
Mm-hmm.
something we confuse a lot in today's society. Okay, in profit, I can't ask for a $200,000 salary. Your employer, no matter how great you are, but you come on time, you have a good ego, you bring so much value to the team, rah 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 ree. If you're not bringing in more than $100,000, you are not getting $200,000. You're not getting $100,000 either because they do have to make money on you.
Right.
Everybody's looking for return on investment. Now, let's even take that into our personal relationships. Yaacov, you brought up a great example. What we bring to our families. I don't like the term. I happen to hate the term. But we all talk about work-life balance. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we do have to um, offer a value to our family. It's not just who's bringing home the check. If we want to have
Right.
a relationship with our children, there needs
About
to
time.
be time. That's what we can bring. Okay. It's great to have a nice house. It's great to be able to pay your tuition. It's great. These are all necessary things. But there is no relationship that we have that can't be brought down to a return on investment. Won't exist. No meaningful one,
Right.
at least.
No, I agree 100%. And ultimately, I think it's something that so many people, miss. And we had discussed this even a little bit in advance, where it's like people think, oh, I just need to do, X. And that's what's important. Right. And you hear all these stories all the time of like couples going to speak to someone and they're like, but I give you everything you need. She's like, I don't want any of that. I just want to spend time with you. right? You missed the
You're
boat,
actually touching on a great point. Okay. Um,
right? What's the value to you?
but
And the
it's so
ROI
much
for you
deeper
is
than that.
different maybe than what their ROI is. And that's what matters.
Right. And what we confuse in sales is we're notorious for doing this is what would I want? We are not the
Right.
customer. We are not the
Bingo.
customer. Okay. The better salespeople understand you're solving a problem for the other side. What do they
100%.
want? What do they need? And you know what? It's not always a discount. That's the first thing everybody always goes to. Oh, I'll give you 10% off. You
Right.
know what? It's not always the money. I want to
Right.
know that you'll give me your cell phone number, okay? That I can reach you at 10 o'clock at night. Because and maybe not even give me the answer, but I know I have a peace of mind that I know if I need David, David's available to me. You know what?
Right.
How many people have closed a deal out there that were more expensive, but their customer service was miles ahead of everybody? We have to understand we are not always the client and our opinions don't really matter.
Right.
That is building the confidence in the relationship is another element of confidence that I want to be there for you. You are the one who's paying me. Again, it doesn't always have to be a financial payment.
Yeah, it's
Okay. But
impact and
I'm building
results.
the confidence in the relationship. I'm building value in what
Right.
collectively both of us are going to bring together to make this relationship one and a happy one that people want to continue.
Yeah. And it's something that, it boils down from a business perspective, but even like you said, from a personal perspective, is the impact and the results, right? When we look at the financial side of it, that could be a results piece. That's not an impact piece, right? And so many people, like, in sales coaching, I think is an easy example of this. I always tell people the goal here is to turn you into version 2.0 of yourself. That many times comes along with a financial gain, because when you know what you're doing and you know how to do it, your bank account many times will show those results. But if you have the confidence and clarity, depending on your sales cycle, depending on your industry, it might take you 6 months to really see results. And that's fine, because when I follow up with you in a year, like I've done for many a client, all of a sudden you made an extra $100,000 that year because of what you learned, and because you
Right.
were version 2.0. That's an impact that can lead to results. So both of those things a lot of times will equal the value, like you said. And that really brings us into, how does any individual fully appreciate the value that they bring to their client, which is, that story we said earlier. It has to do with what are the impact and results you provide for them, right? It's meeting them where they're at is a
Correct.
very big difference between someone who understands how to do business and how to do sales to someone who's just trying to push their wares on someone else, whether they need it or not.
Right.
And I think that's really what that boils down to. Would you agree with that?
100%. And to just add one more point, how do you know if you're solving your clients' problems? Ask. Did we do a good job?
Yep.
Did I meet your needs? Would you use
Yeah,
me again? Would you
and,
refer me?
and
It's
that's
so
that's how
simple
you know
sometimes
whether
and we
they
just miss it.
appreciate you.
Yeah. And there's there's the old adage which I know people quote me a lot. Don't wake sleeping dogs. I don't know if you ever heard
Mhm.
that term. So a lot
Sure.
of people are just scared. You know what? I was supposed to sell these pens to them. I sold them. Thank God I didn't hear any complaints. So obviously it must have been good. Really? Was it good? And if it was good, don't you want to hear that it was good?
Right.
Won't that give you your confidence to hear, you know what, this guy just did a big deal. He was at a big show. Did they get compliments on the pens that you dropped off for them? And you know what? If there was a
Yeah.
problem, they see that you've solved that problem. Do you not think you're bringing another level of value?
It's just discussing it with them. It's those check-ins. I mean, we do this from a coaching perspective all the
For
time. We
sure.
check in
Right.
with our clients to find out what's going on. How is this affecting you? And just checking in even once a month, just saying, okay, what's changed over the past, little while that we've been working together? How has this affected you from an impact perspective, results perspective, right? Whether a client says to me, I've been in sales for 7 years and I just had my best sales call I've ever had, that's impact and results. right? But you need to have those conversations with them where you're getting voice messages from people and all of a sudden you're like almost crying because of what they're telling you and how much it's changed their entire lives. You can't know that if you don't welcome that feedback and encourage it and have
Right.
conversations about it. And that's how you know your value, right?
And that's how
One of the
you will
posts
build
that I
your
made on
confidence.
LinkedIn said, "Do you value you?" And so many people brought it into, imposter syndrome and doubting themselves. And maybe we'll
Yes.
talk about that later. And you said, I don't ever, go into that. I don't ever, walk into the self-doubt piece because you're constantly checking in. You constantly know what's happening, right? You know what the value that you're bringing to your clients, right? I myself, I'll many times, that part of me will speak up and, do you really know what you're doing? And then I'm like, yes, I do. And here's why. Right. So there is even that part of me that does that every once in a while will speak up and, try to voice its opinion that maybe I don't, but I have the data. I have the value that I can show it to say, hey, look, this is what's going on. Is there any reason to really doubt that we know what we're doing? Right. And then that part, says, okay, you're right. And this goes down to like so many people, they want to look for something to blame, right? Who do you blame when your client doesn't believe, they don't value? Whose fault is it when they don't necessarily understand the value you bring to the table? It's you.
You're actually mentioning one other point, even from a sales standpoint, something I deal with my clients all the time. Another reason to talk to clients and have this engagement, and I don't think enough people take advantage of this one piece, and that is you're
Hmm.
educating yourself. You're educating yourself for that next client who's similar, and now you have a new level of experience. You know a
Yeah.
new question to ask. How many times I can speak for myself on a personal level? How many times have I ever spoken to a client in whatever business that I'm involved with, and they showed me or taught me a perspective that I never looked at my business
Right.
in that way at all? I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what? That just opened up a whole new client category for me.
Right. Yeah. Many a time because, again, once we see and this is the part of entrepreneurship. We have to be flexible, right? As business owners, we're
Right,
constantly moving and seeing. And it doesn't mean going way wide, on what
right.
it is that you do. You have your core offer and what it is that you do. But that doesn't mean it can't be flexible and tweaked. I mean, that's the whole point when it comes down to, niching to a specific target audience that you go to. Like I specifically talk on LinkedIn that, creatives and agency owners and freelancers are like, my main, dream client, as it were. A nice amount of clients have no connection to that at all. They're in fintech, they're in shipping, they're in SaaS, they're in no connection whatsoever. But that's because when you know what your lane is, someone can say, I understand that you do this, but can you do X? Yes, I can, or no, I can. If you can, fantastic. Go down that road as well and see where it leads. But you have your
Yeah.
core offer. And I think so many people, they also get confused in terms of, oh, but that's not really who I work with. Okay, and therefore what? Can you help them? Is there value you can bring to their lives? Is there something that you can do to impact them for the better? Yay or nay? If you can, well, that's what we're here to do, is to help people. It's not about the money necessarily, although that's necessary in order to live and move forward. It's about the impact that we provide to people ultimately. That's the biggest piece in the puzzle.
The more value you bring, the more value you're worth. That circle just continues then.
Right. And that's ultimately, I think, how people, especially in the creative space, we see this all the time. Well, I'm not sure that I could really charge that much money. I
You're touching the
so
third
many
rail with
times when
me.
people bring up this conversation, because it's like, look, do you know what your contemporaries are charging? Have you looked at what people are willing to
So
pay for this
you're
stuff? Have you
actually,
looked at how much money you're making them? What do you do for people? It's
so
like you said in your example earlier. You're making
you're
people $1 million, $9 million. How could you charge anything less than $50,000, $100,000?
so you're actually touching. It's so interesting because we could do a whole segment just on this, the
Just on
creative
pricing, I
world.
know.
The
It's a
creative
can of
world
worms.
is a very, very different entity. Okay. I have a number of creatives as clients.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know about confidence problems? There is probably it's more of an emotional segment of society.
Mm-hmm.
With emotions, you get all spectrums of the emotions. Okay, confidence is a big challenge. Okay, self doubt. They want you so much to like what they're doing.
Yeah.
Your opinion is so weighing on them of what it is. These are like the classic test tube clients when dealing with confidence issues. Um, and you're asking the right question. Are they happy with your work? But I'm not happy. But is your client happy? I can't tell you how many times I have this. I go on this merry-go-round with the people. It's not
Yeah.
about you. It's about
Right.
your client. Was your client
And I'm a
happy?
creative myself, right? There's a part of me that is that perfectionist, but it's not perfect. Okay. But then there's the other part that has to remember that they didn't ask for what you're trying to create. You'll get better at it the next time you do it.
Right.
Otherwise, you will spend your entire life on one project
Yeah.
because it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect because we're not meant to be perfect. That was my post from earlier today. You can't be perfect. You can't. It's impossible.
You know what?
There's
You don't
always
want to be
something to
perfect.
add.
You don't want to be perfect because that means you've come to an end. And there's no
Right.
such thing. How does the saying go? Perfection is the devil. I forgot how the thing that perfection is basically your biggest enemy or something. There's some. How did it go? I know I'm botching it up right now.
Is the enemy of good?
The enemy of success or something like that.
The enemy of progress. Is that the
I've
one?
heard it. I've heard different endings. I don't think that was the ending I heard, but I think everybody's getting the gist of it. Whatever.
There's so many different ones.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
Um
true. It's
yeah,
so
but that
true.
ultimately that's what it boils down to. I mean, like the way that you show your value, right? When we started this, easy example. I gave over what I call my context pitch, right? There's four levels to a context pitch. Number one is what do you do? I am a sales coach. Okay. Number two is a story that brings out the relevancy that the person you're talking to can feel themselves in that story, the pain that they should be experiencing if they're a good fit for you and you can help them, and then what it is that you do to solve that pain. But then step three is the impact and results, the people you've worked with. And four is the impact and results that they've seen, right? When I said that there are 6, 7 figure businesses that have gotten this value and they've done these types of numbers and those types of numbers, that's how you show value. What have other people that are just like you done by working with me?
So there's another question that always comes that I'm always discussing with my clients, and you're touching
Mm-hmm.
on it. I have this with creative specifically, not that it doesn't apply to others, okay? And that is, do we allow people to believe in us? Do we allow our customers to
Ooh,
believe it? Which goes down to the whole confidence issue. I
yeah.
can't tell how many times I have a client who goes over, "Hey, I'm giving you this service, but I just want to warn you now, there's a little bit of a problem. I want to warn you, I
Ay
know you
vey.
wanted it. You are taking your confidence in front of your client and trampling on it, just breaking
Yeah.
it. And which in turn is now you're creating doubt in them when ultimately it wasn't a confidence issue.
Yep. I
You
would
know,
say the context pitch is you giving everyone else the perception you want them to have about you. If you
yep.
come to them and you say, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is the value I provide, I'm here to serve, you're inviting them into your world, they're happy to take part in it. If you're like, yeah, but I'm not sure. And I had a client who was doing this. I said, you are self sabotaging every deal you get in front of. He goes, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
it's a
I said,
shame.
well, you're telling them that this is what you do, but that word is not part of your lexicon. It shouldn't be in your vocabulary at all because you
Yep,
just negated everything that was the first half of that sentence, which was your value. Hi, I do all these amazing things, but but there's something that'll negate all of that. That's what you're saying. Leave it out. I do all these amazing things. Now be quiet. At
yeah,
the end, you want to give a disclaimer. By the way, if you don't put in the work and you don't show up and you don't do what you're supposed to do, you're not going to see results. Fantastic. That's a disclaimer. That's not a but.
yeah,
You have to understand the difference between them because one has to do
right,
with you and one has to do with them.
yeah,
It's such a big difference between where are you within that picture and are you meeting them where they're at the same time?
Yeah. See, it's very easy for us as coaches to say, just believe in yourself.
Right.
Come on, shake it off. Just walk around the block, shake it off. You know, we can help you realize who you are, what your strengths are, what value you bring, what to look for. Very important. Not everyone even understands what to look for to actually build their confidence on. As an example, do your clients ask you your opinion?
Of
I don't
course.
ask opinions just of anybody. But if I'm calling you up and saying, "Hey, Yaakov, what do you think about this and this?" Do you know what they
Hmm.
have in you? They have confidence in you.
You
You
know what
know,
my
I can't
response
tell
is
you
when they
times
say,
I
"What do
tell
I
this.
do about this?"
I can't tell you times I tell it to a client and saying, "Why are they calling you?" You know why?
Right.
Because they believe in you more than you believe in yourself. I
Yep.
can tell you from today to tomorrow, you're a confident person. You have so much value, but I'm not. There's nothing I'm going to tell you. You can read the room. This is why
Yep.
you also need to surround yourself with those people to help you,
Right.
encourage you, to help you read the room, to help you see the tea leaves that no, this is them being confident in you. This is a success story. This is a moment to be proud of. Gloat. How many times have I told somebody, no, gloat? I want you to get up there, jump up and down, look what you did. Tell me what you did. No,
Yep.
I'm embarrassed. No. Don't come to me and not be embarrassed when you're coming like, all emotionally depressed and everything like that. That you have no embarrassment about. But for me to have you sit there and jump up and down, look at what you just accomplished. You just closed your first $1 million deal. No, I want you to jump up and down. I want you to tell everybody who can hear. Go make a kiddush. Go celebrate this way. I want you to feel that you know what? I could do this. I could duplicate this step
Yeah.
by step by step. And we got you there.
It's building. People don't realize even what you just said is so important. So I want to reiterate this. The value of just giving yourself that pat on the back. Go buy
Yep.
yourself an iced coffee if you don't want to go buy yourself dinner and go out with your wife and celebrate in a big way. Do something to put a stamp on what you've done.
Yes.
Allow yourself to appreciate what you do. Allow yourself to show yourself the value that you bring and the confidence that you should have because of it.
And if you're not at a level, because this is not easy for a lot of people, if you're not at the
Hard.
level to create self confidence, surround yourself with people who can help you with that and then build from it. I'm a very big promoter of networking groups. Very, very big.
Mm-hmm.
To the point I've started a few for clients. If nothing more, you're in a room of 10 to 15 very smart, capable people. You guys are family right now. Put your arms around each other. Okay? What goes around is going to come around. Surround yourself with cheerleaders. There are plenty of people out there to help bring you down. And please don't be at the front of that room helping bringing yourself down. Okay?
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people who are going to build you up. I can't stress that enough that how many people even are in groups where they don't belong in those groups. They're even with uber successful people and they've created goals for themselves that they're not at the level yet to be able to get to that point. And just there are people I know that are multimillionaires, but surrounding themselves with people who are that next tier. And you look at them, they look at the most depressed, beat up people. Like, do you understand how many people would die to be, they daven to be in your situation? Do you know how many people like that? Why are you doing that to yourself? Now, you want to surround
Right.
yourself with successful people to help motivate you, then be a confident person and do that. Don't
Right.
go in there because that I would agree with. I surround myself with very, very successful people because you know what? It just kicks me. It kicks me.
Right.
But if I'm going there just to find a new way to get depressed, you know what? Something's wrong with me then.
You're a masochist, Pasha. Like you just like you're looking for pain.
Whatever gets you going, right?
I think there's two other questions I have before we bring it out
Please.
to Q&A. One is, what is the difference between showing and presenting value? I think this is a big question that so many people don't understand the difference with.
Showing and presenting value. So, you have this similar context in listening and hearing. Are you listening to
Say
me
this
or are you
all the time.
hearing me? Okay? Let's not get caught up in the lingo so much as we're saying, stop telling people of everything that you can do or you're going to do and start doing. Results speak 10 times louder than anything.
Show,
Okay?
don't tell.
You know, I can listen to people giving me advice, or I can hear and absorb what they're telling me. I could show people, look what I did for them, look what I did for them, look what I did for them. But at the end of the day, am I really giving them and presenting to them the solution that they need? Not what worked for that person, but really what's going to work for them. Did I
Right.
understand what it is that their needs were, their unique needs? Because let me tell you something, and I'm sure you and I have had, we have our own experiences with this, where we deal with people in similar industries, but the challenge, although may on the outside look the same, the
Mm-hmm.
solution is Mars and Apple.
Miles apart. Yeah.
So again, ROI. Am I bringing value? We're going to keep on using these terms over and over because that is ultimately what it is. And the
Right.
success is going to bring confidence. Okay, if I allow it to, we are, like I said, masochists. At times where we don't allow our success. They're already on to the next thing. Calm down. Enjoy what just happened. It's sunny right
Right.
now. Enjoy. Take a breath. Enjoy the new plateau that you just hit. We'll get there. But again, see, this is also where, I'm a very big believer in customized coaching. I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe it. Every person's their own.
Same.
There are people who have that self confidence. I've worked with people like that. They don't need those wins. They don't need that thing to energize them. They are naturally just raring to go. But then you have
Mm-hmm.
those clients that, you know what? Stop, inhale, look
Breathe it
around
in.
you, okay? Enjoy this a little bit. We got time for the next thing, and then let's conquer, okay?
Right.
It's extremely important to understand, identify the person that you're working with, customize around what it is they need, and bring them the value that they're looking for.
Especially because a lot of times those people, they're the ones that are in a rush to get to the next thing more so than anybody else.
You
And
know
and
what
you
happens
touched
a
on
lot of
something I
those
speak
times?
about all the time.
A
Sorry, go
lot,
ahead.
a lot of times I find with those people, they're not doing it for themselves. Because if they did, they would recognize their
Interesting.
wins. And this is one of the big problems of jealousy. We learn about this in the Torah about jealousy. What's one of the big problems? One of the big problems that I find with a lot of people people have gone into industries, people have gone into lines of work thinking, oh, here's the classic one. I'm going into real estate. I'm going to be a billionaire, because I know so
Mm-hmm.
many people who are wealthy. And my first response to those people who I know don't belong in that line of work, would you like me to introduce you to people who fail? We never look at that. Every
Yeah.
industry, I don't care what the industry is, you could sell pens and become a multi millionaire. You could sell pens and go bankrupt. You could be in
Right.
real estate and be a multi-billionaire. You can also be in these other industries and these same industries and be a complete flop, you know? And that's part of where we also start losing the confidence. Are we choosing the right paths for ourselves? Or are we choosing somebody else's? Are we pursuing other people's dreams? We will
Right.
never be happy, and it will only bring us down from there.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because it comes down to a couple of different things that you just mentioned. And while I'm saying this, anybody who has any questions, you can start putting it into the chat. But one of the things that there's a couple of things that you mentioned is just enjoy the journey,
Yes.
right? You can't possibly do that if you're looking at the next page, the next page, the next page. You're not going to enjoy the page you're on,
Yeah.
right? I have a goal. I want to hit X. Okay. Well, right now, where are you? Well, I'm not there yet. But where are you today? You can enjoy where you're at today at the new milestone that you're at or the place that you're at. So many
You know,
people wish they were where you are right now, right? You talked about show, don't tell, and listen, don't hear. I have it on a T-shirt, right?
really.
Listen, don't hear, right? What does that mean? Listening, it goes in one ear, out the other. When you hear, it goes in one ear, out the other. Listening is where it takes a pit stop in the middle on its way out. you have to process the information. Right? I used to tell that to my sales team back when I was a sales manager and a sales director. Like, are you hearing what people are saying? Or are you listening to what people are saying? Because active listening is completely different from just hearing out what someone is saying. You're genuinely curious in what they have to say. It matters to you. You care. It's a whole different game. And so many people, you aren't willing to be patient enough
Oh,
with
that's a great
themselves
word. Yeah.
and with the journey to really just be in the moment, right? The key of, like, everyone talks about being in the moment, the key is to just be
Mm.
in the moment, but it's just enjoy the fact that you exist in that moment.
So you actually said one of the magic words that basically every one of my client interactions start with. Any new client, and they'll tell you this, my first conversation is, what's your goal? Because you won't understand success if you don't know your goal.
Right.
If you don't have a goal, you don't have success. If you don't have success, why should you be confident? I'm never hitting anything. I'm
Yeah.
on a hamster wheel constantly.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. And one last question that I wanted to go from here is, I think that so many people would ask, what's the first thing they should do to begin? And with this, I'm gonna, move into the questions that we have.
Yeah, the real answer, it really depends on the person. Okay? Um, there's a side of there's one answer for some people is to create a goal and create success rungs, sort of like a ladder, create those rungs, identify the success and see it. For some people, I recommend surrounding themselves with finding a group of people, finding a person. It doesn't necessarily be a coach. It doesn't have to be a paid person, but it has to have certain ingredients that I look for in surrounding those people that are encouraging that person that will be there fostering and helping them build the encouragement. Um, there's a lot of answers to that question, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a personal question with a personal answer for a specific individual. But those would be
Yeah.
two very good starting points.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that that really goes into people truly understanding the value that other people can bring to them when it comes to encouragement, when it comes to, the benefits of a coach. But like you said, it doesn't have to be a coach. It could be your spouse, it could be a friend, it could be a group of people in a mastermind or just in a networking group that truly all are aimed at each other's success. But that's
I
really
want to
how we move
caution
forward
one of
with it.
those examples that you gave. Okay,
Okay.
a spouse
I
has a
knew you were going to
response. No,
pick
no,
that
hold
one.
on, no. You want to explain to you what I mean by
Go
that.
ahead.
A, a discouraging spouse is nothing more toxic than that and will kill the confidence and kill you
100%.
completely. But psychologically, at least I find with a lot of the people I'm dealing with, somebody who is how do you say Nogeba in English? Who has a vested interest
Personally involved,
and
vested interest.
personally
Yeah.
involved, people seem to undermine those. Oh, you have, like a parent. If your mother says, "Oh my gosh, Yaacov, you're the greatest guy. You're the best looking," Ma, you have to say that because you're my mother. And we don't. There are a lot of people. And again, that's why it's a personal thing. There are a lot of people who self-wreck certain people when they can logically say, "Oh, they just have to say that," So
That's true.
it's not a bad person. It can only be
Depends on the
bad.
relationship, I
It can
guess.
only be bad, but the relationship, you got to be careful that it's somebody you're selecting that has it is not kind of there's no bribery in them telling you, "Oh, come
Yeah,
on, you got it."
it depends on the relationship. Even a good friend,
Correct.
it has to be someone who's willing to be
A critiquer
brutally
also.
honest with you
Yes.
and be able to critique the
Yes.
pieces that you need to fix.
Right.
A,
And
a
know how
spouse,
to
if you
do
have
it
that
though.
type of relationship, can
Right.
do that. But like you said, you have to be careful in choosing anybody within
Very good.
your inner circle, I guess we'll call it, your power base. You need to be careful in those types of people as well. I think that's a very good point.
You need people who have the capability of properly critiquing you. When you can get
Yeah.
proper critique and proper confidence boost, you know what? Okay, this guy told me something bad last time. He's telling me something good this time. It's a very different impact.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the other, pieces over here that we have is, what do I do if I messed up the first time around? Can I regain my status and when I was speaking to a potential client and I didn't put my best foot forward?
So this is a quasi confident element, and this is not the short answer. Time heals all wounds. It does.
It's
People
true.
forget. People understand mistakes happen. The question really is, did you clean up the mess? Or how did you end? I tell this to all people. Never burn a bridge. Never burn a
Yeah.
bridge. There is no mistake that you can't come back from. And don't make it harder on yourself to come back from. You mess up, own it.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Okay, so just an ending off over here. I always end the live podcast with a simple reminder. I have 2 pages of notes on all the tremendous value that you, David, have brought today. And if I tried to implement every single one of the things that I learned here today, I'd fall flat on my face and break my nose. Pick one thing, just one thing that you're going to try to move forward from today that you found valuable. Stick with that, get good at it, then move on to the next thing. David, you mentioned as we were about to jump on the podcast today that you had a piece of value that you wanted to offer to everyone here today. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, as always, and for those of you who have reached out and who know me, anybody would be interested in talking. I'm always happy to speak to somebody. I'm always happy to give a free consult. If nothing more, a sounding board. I'm happy to always be that sounding board for anybody out there. Reach out free of charge. Mention Yaacov so that we can let him know the penetration that he's having out there. He's a great guy, and I recommend everybody reach out to him as well. You can find me
Thank
on
you.
LinkedIn. If I recall correctly, there
Yeah,
are only two
the
David
information's
Wanounou
in the
out there.
chat, and we'll put it
Yes,
into the descriptions as well.
please don't
Yeah.
hesitate. I always love hearing from people.
And
I
David
will
is
tell
amazing.
you,
I've sent quite a number of people to him, and I have to say, every single one, Kanai Nahara, they're just, David really sees through what it is that people are saying. That he's able to really delve down to the guts of what's going on. It's definitely a resource you should take advantage of. And I would add, in these live podcasts, we try to speak about things that are timely, interesting, that you can add to your skill set toolbox. And if you loved this live podcast today, if you have anything you want to speak to myself about, as I say at the end of these podcasts, you can feel free to hit myself up for a free 30-minute strategy session. Take your sales game to the next level. It's a question about the podcast or just something in general. They do get booked up pretty quick. I think we're already into next week sometime, possibly the week after. So definitely grab a slot. David, you have been amazing. You really brought the fire. And there was literally, I have 2 pages of notes. And I really appreciate you coming on today. Thank you very, very much.
thank you for your time.
Absolutely. And to everyone else who's here, thank you very much. Until next time, have a great rest of your day.